Welcome to World Numismatic Finds, where today we explore the top 5 rare coins from the fascinating world of British pre-decimal currency. In this feature, we're taking a closer look at the iconic UK One Shilling coins, often known as the Bob, struck during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II and earlier under King George VI. From the 1954 Three Lions design in dirty condition, to the 1948 single lion crown shield in a dilapidated state, and the 1963 circulating example, each coin tells a unique story of Britain's post-war era. We'll also uncover details about the 1950 crowned lion design in worn condition and the 1961 Three Lions portrait with faded surfaces, exploring their historical charm, collector appeal, and what makes these classic shillings so intriguing for enthusiasts across the UK. Let's get started up with the 1954 UK One Shilling coin featuring the iconic Three Lions design. This particular coin, especially in a circulated and slightly dirty condition, carries far more than just face value. It represents a proud era of post-war Britain and remains a highly desirable collectible among enthusiasts across the United Kingdom and beyond. If you have one tucked away in an old drawer or inherited in a family coin tin, you may be holding a small but meaningful treasure. The 1954 One Shilling was issued during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, only a short time after her coronation in 1953. These early Elizabethan coins are especially admired because they mark the beginning of a new royal chapter following the passing of King George VI. The obverse of the coin displays the young portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, often referred to as the first portrait, designed by Mary Gillick. On the reverse, the famous crown shield featuring the Three Lions passant guard ant symbolizes England's historic royal arms. This bold and traditional design gives the coin its strong national identity and is why many collectors lovingly call it the Three Lion Shilling. Culturally, the 1954 shilling sits at the heart of Britain's rebuilding years. The early 1950s were a time of recovery and renewed optimism after the hardships of the Second World War. Coins like this circulated widely in everyday life, passing through markets, buses, corner shops, and seaside arcades. Holding one today connects you directly to that era of ration books ending, industry rebuilding, and a young queen beginning her historic reign. The symbolism of the Three Lions carries centuries of heritage, echoing England's medieval monarchy and long-standing traditions. For many collectors, this emotional and historical depth adds value that goes far beyond money. In terms of physical details, the 1954 One Shilling was struck in copper-nickel. It weighs approximately 5.65 grams and measures 23.5 millimeters in diameter. The coin has a milled edge, giving it a distinct texture when you run your fingers along its rim. Despite being a common circulation coin at the time, its solid metal composition means many examples have survived decades of handling. Even coins found in dirty or toned condition can still display sharp details beneath the surface grime. When discussing rarity, it is important to be realistic yet optimistic. The 1954 shilling was not an extremely low mintage year, and millions were produced for circulation. However, demand today remains consistently high because it represents one of the early issues of Queen Elizabeth II's coinage. Coins in heavily worn or dirty condition are naturally less valuable than uncirculated examples, yet they still attract collectors who appreciate original, untouched pieces. A dirty coin often simply needs careful professional conservation rather than harsh cleaning, which can damage its surface and reduce value. Now let us talk about market value in today's terms. In average circulated and dirty condition, a 1954 One Shilling typically sells for modest collector prices, often ranging between $2 and $10, depending on detail and eye appeal. In better preserved extremely fine condition, values can rise to around $15 to $30. Brilliant uncirculated examples may achieve between $40 and $80 in standard sales. However, you may sometimes see exaggerated online listings claiming values of thousands. Some sellers advertise prices such as $2,000, $5,000, or even $10,000, which numerically appear as $2,000, $5,000, or $10,000. These figures are usually unrealistic unless the coin has a rare minting error, extraordinary provenance, or is part of a special graded collection. It is essential to distinguish genuine market demand from inflated asking prices. Even so, there is undeniably a strong collector base for pre-decimal British coinage. The pre-1971 currency system holds a nostalgic charm, and the One Shilling, equal to 12 old pence, played a vital role in everyday transactions. As time passes and fewer high-quality examples remain available, steady appreciation in value is possible, particularly for well-preserved pieces. Demand is especially noticeable among collectors building complete date runs of early Elizabeth II coinage. For collectors, the key advice is patience and preservation. Avoid cleaning a dirty 1954 shilling with abrasive materials, as this can permanently scratch the surface and lower its desirability. Instead, store the coin in a dry, protective holder away from humidity. If you suspect your coin has exceptional sharpness or unusual features, consider professional grading, which can authenticate and protect it long-term. Studying details such as the sharpness of the lion's features, the clarity of the queen's hair, and the condition of the rim can help you assess its grade more accurately. In conclusion, the 1954 UK One Shilling with the three lions portrait is far more than a small piece of copper nickel. It is a symbol of a new Elizabethan era, a reminder of Britain's resilience, and a tangible link to mid-20th century life. Even in dirty condition, it holds historical weight, sentimental appeal, and steady collector demand. While most examples will not realistically sell for thousands of dollars, their true worth lies in their heritage and continued popularity among enthusiasts. If you own one, treasure it, preserve it carefully, and appreciate the story it carries from the early days of Queen Elizabeth II's remarkable reign. At number 2, the 1948 UK One Shilling coin, a classic issue featuring the proud lion standing on the crown and the portrait of King George VI. Even in a dilapidated condition, this coin carries remarkable historical depth and growing interest among collectors across the world. If you have one tucked away in an old drawer or inherited in a family collection, you might be holding a small yet meaningful fragment of Britain's post-war story. The 1948 One Shilling was issued during the reign of George VI, a period when the United Kingdom was rebuilding after the devastation of the Second World War. This coin was struck by the Royal Mint and marked an important transition in British coinage. From 1947 onwards, silver was removed from circulating coins due to rising bullion prices, and the 1948 shilling was minted in copper nickel instead of sterling silver. That change alone makes it historically significant, as it reflects Britain's economic adjustments in the late 1940s. The reverse design displays a crowned lion standing majestically atop the royal crown, a symbol of strength, resilience, and national pride. This powerful imagery resonated deeply with a nation recovering from wartime hardship. The obverse bears the left-facing portrait of King George VI, designed by engraver Thomas Humphrey Paget. Around the portrait runs the Latin inscription affirming the king's titles. Even when worn and dilapidated, the outlines of the lion and the king's profile still convey dignity and authority, which is why collectors continue to seek out this issue. In terms of physical characteristics, the 1948 One Shilling weighs approximately 5.65 grams and measures about 23.5 millimeters in diameter. Its composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel gave it durability for everyday use, which explains why many surviving examples show heavy circulation, scratches, edge knocks, and surface dullness. A dilapidated condition coin may have flattened details, faded lettering, and visible wear on both the lion and the monarch's portrait, yet it still holds strong collectible appeal due to its historical context. When discussing rarity, the 1948 shilling is not considered extremely rare in terms of mintage, as millions were produced for circulation. However, demand has steadily increased in recent years as collectors focus more on post-war British coinage and pre-decimal currency. High-grade examples command stronger prices, but even worn pieces are actively traded because they represent the first full year of copper-nickel shilling production under King George VI after the silver era ended. This transitional importance boosts its desirability beyond what simple mintage numbers might suggest. Now let us talk about value in today's market. In dilapidated condition, a 1948 UK One Shilling typically sells for a modest amount, often between $1 and $5, depending on eye appeal and market demand. That would translate roughly to $1 to $5. However, online marketplaces and exaggerated social media claims sometimes promote dramatic figures in the thousands. You may see listings suggesting values of $2,000, $5,000, or even $10,000, written numerically as $2,000, $5,000, or $10,000. These figures are usually unrealistic for a heavily worn example and often represent speculative asking prices rather than confirmed sales. Only exceptionally rare mint errors or pristine uncirculated examples might approach significantly higher values, and even then, four-figure sums are uncommon for this specific year. Despite this, the coin enjoys strong and consistent demand among collectors of British pre-decimal currency. The emotional connection to the late 1940s, the reign of King George VI, and the symbolism of the lion on the crown give it lasting appeal. For many enthusiasts, it is not just about monetary value but about preserving a tangible reminder of Britain's resilience during a transformative period. If you are considering collecting or selling a 1948 shilling in worn condition, it is important to examine the details carefully. Look at the clarity of the lion's mane, the definition of the crown jewels, and the sharpness of the king's hair and facial features. Even small improvements in visible detail can slightly increase value. Avoid harsh cleaning, as this can reduce collector interest. Natural aging is often preferred over polished surfaces. Storing the coin in a protective holder will prevent further deterioration and maintain its current state. In a positive light, owning a 1948 UK One Shilling in dilapidated condition is still something to appreciate. It has traveled through decades of history, passed through countless hands, and witnessed a changing Britain. Its market value in dollars may be modest for worn examples, but its cultural and historical worth is far greater than the price tag alone suggests. With continued global interest in vintage British coinage, demand remains steady and in some circles is gradually rising. To conclude, the 1948 UK One Shilling with a lion on crown and the portrait of King George VI stands as a proud symbol of post-war Britain. Even in a dilapidated state, it carries historical depth, collector demand, and undeniable charm. While claims of thousands of dollars should be approached with caution, the coin still holds genuine value and strong appeal in the numismatic community. Whether you are a seasoned collector or a curious beginner, this classic shilling is a meaningful and respected piece of Britain's monetary heritage. At number 3, the 1963 UK One Shilling coin featuring the proud lion on the reverse. This is not just an old coin you might find tucked away in a drawer or inherited from a relative. It is a symbol of Britain's strength, tradition, and identity. The bold lion design immediately captures attention, standing firm and confident beneath the crown, representing courage and heritage. For collectors and history enthusiasts alike, the 1963 shilling is a fascinating reminder of the final years of pre-decimal British coinage. The 1963 shilling was issued during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, whose youthful portrait appears on the obverse of the coin. At that time, Britain was experiencing significant social and economic change, yet its coinage still carried centuries of tradition. The shilling itself had a long and respected history in the United Kingdom, forming part of the old system where 20 shillings made £1. By 1963, the design had evolved, but it still retained the iconic crowned lion, a symbol closely associated with England's royal heritage and strength. Culturally, this coin holds deep historical value. The lion is not just decorative, it represents national pride and continuity. For many people in Britain, the shilling was a coin used in everyday life, spent in local shops, markets, and transport. Holding a 1963 shilling today is like holding a small fragment of Britain before decimalization in 1971. It reflects a time when currency had a different structure and when coins like this were part of daily routines. The emotional and nostalgic value of such pieces adds to their appeal among collectors. In terms of physical details, the 1963 One Shilling coin weighs approximately 5.65 grams and is made from copper nickel, giving it durability and a distinctive silvery appearance. The diameter measures around 23.5 millimeters, making it a comfortable size in the hand. Even in circulating condition, where light wears visible on the lion's mane and the Queen's portrait, the coin retains much of its charm. Circulation marks, small scratches, and slight fading are common for coins that were actively used, and these features often tell a story of decades past. When discussing rarity, it is important to understand that 1963 was not considered a particularly low mintage year for the shilling. Millions were produced for everyday use. However, demand among collectors remains strong, especially for well-preserved examples. Circulating condition coins are widely available, yet the increasing interest in vintage British currency has created steady market demand. High-grade or uncirculated pieces can command higher premiums, particularly when the lion detail remains sharp and the original mint luster is still visible. Now let us address the exciting part that many viewers are curious about, the current market value in dollars. In standard circulating condition, a 1963 UK One Shilling coin typically ranges between $1 and $5 depending on wear and overall eye appeal. Better preserved examples may reach $10 to $20. However, you may come across online claims suggesting these coins are worth thousands of dollars, sometimes advertised at $2,000, $5,000, or even $10,000. While such listings can be seen, these figures are often unrealistic asking prices rather than confirmed sales. Exceptional error coins or rare minting anomalies could potentially fetch significantly higher amounts, but ordinary circulated examples generally trade within modest ranges. That said, as interest in British pre-decimal coinage continues to grow globally, values may gradually strengthen over time. For collectors, the key is knowledge and patience. Always examine the coin carefully, paying close attention to the clarity of the lion, the crown details, and the portrait of the queen. Look for unusual features such as striking errors, off-center designs, or double impressions, as these can dramatically increase desirability. Storing the coin in a protective holder will help preserve its condition and prevent further wear. It is also wise to compare sold prices rather than advertised listings when evaluating potential market value. In a positive and forward-looking sense, the 1963 UK One Shilling coin remains a highly collectible and historically meaningful piece. Its strong design, royal association, and connection to Britain's rich monetary past ensure ongoing demand. While most circulating examples will not make you instantly wealthy, they hold steady value and cultural significance that cannot be measured purely in money. For enthusiasts building a collection of pre-decimal coins, this lion shilling stands proudly as a must-have addition. In conclusion, the 1963 One Shilling with the lion portrait is more than loose change from a bygone era. It is a symbol of national heritage, royal history, and enduring design. Whether you own one already or are searching for one to add to your collection, this coin represents an accessible and meaningful entry into the world of British numismatics. With continued interest and appreciation, its story and demand are likely to remain strong for years to come. At number 4, the 1950 UK One Shilling coin featuring the proud lion standing on the crown, a design that instantly captures the spirit of post-war Britain. If you have one of these coins tucked away in a drawer, especially in a well-used or even dirty condition, you may be holding more than just old change. You could be holding a small but meaningful piece of the nation's recovery era, struck during a time when Britain was rebuilding its economy and identity after the Second World War. The 1950 shilling carries both historical weight and collector appeal, and its demand continues to grow among enthusiasts across the world. This particular coin was issued during the reign of George VI, whose portrait appears on the obverse. The portrait was designed by Thomas Humphrey Paget, showing the king facing left, crowned and dignified, symbolizing stability and continuity. On the reverse, the iconic lion standing atop the crown is a powerful emblem of British strength and sovereignty. The lion design had become a recognizable feature of the English shilling and carried deep heraldic meaning, representing courage, monarchy, and national pride. Even in dirty or circulated condition, the design remains bold and instantly recognizable, which is part of its lasting appeal. The year 1950 sits firmly in the early post-war period, when rationing was still affecting daily life and Britain was adjusting to new economic realities. Coins from this era carry a cultural importance that goes beyond their face value. They were exchanged in markets, used for bus fares, and saved in piggy banks during a time of careful spending and steady rebuilding. Owning a 1950 shilling is like holding a fragment of that transitional chapter in British history. For collectors, that historical connection adds a layer of emotional and cultural value that cannot be measured purely in money. In terms of physical characteristics, the 1951 shilling coin was struck in copper-nickel, following the change from silver after 1946. It weighs approximately 5.65 grams and measures about 23.5 millimeters in diameter. The edge is milled, giving it a distinctive ridged texture. These specifications are important for collectors because they help confirm authenticity. A coin that is significantly underweight or incorrectly sized could raise questions. Even when found in dirty condition, the weight and dimensions should remain consistent unless the coin has suffered unusual wear. When discussing rarity, it is important to understand that the 1950 shilling is not considered one of the rarest British coins by mintage figures alone. However, demand plays a powerful role in today's market. Many collectors aim to complete full-date runs of pre-decimal shillings, and the reign of George VI is particularly popular. While high-grade uncirculated examples command the strongest premiums, even circulated coins are actively traded. A dirty condition coin may show surface grime, dulled luster, and reduced sharpness in detail, but it still retains collector interest, especially if the main features such as the lion and crown remain clear. Now let us talk about current market value in US dollars, as international buyers often track British coins. In typical dirty or circulated condition, a 1950 UK One Shilling may sell for around $1 to $5, depending on demand and overall eye appeal. In better circulated condition with clearer details, it might reach $10 to $25. Exceptionally well-preserved or uncirculated examples can rise to $40, $60, or even over $100. Occasionally, you may see dramatic online listings claiming values of $1,000, $2,000, or even $5,000, but such figures are usually unrealistic unless the coin has an extraordinary error or proven rare variety. It is important to stay grounded and understand that condition is everything in coin collecting. Still, with growing global interest in British pre-decimal currency, steady demand keeps the 1950 shilling firmly on collectors' radar. The condition described as dirty does not necessarily mean damaged. In fact, many experienced collectors advise against aggressive cleaning. Cleaning can scratch the surface and reduce value significantly. A natural aged patina is often preferred over a harshly polished shine. If you own a 1950 shilling in dirty condition, it may be wiser to store it safely rather than attempt to improve its appearance. Proper storage in a dry, protective holder can preserve what detail remains and prevent further deterioration. For collectors seeking to invest or build a collection, it is wise to study grading standards carefully. Compare your coin's details with verified examples. Pay attention to the sharpness of the lion's mane, the definition of the crown, and the clarity of the king's portrait. Purchasing from reputable dealers and learning to identify genuine wear versus damage will help you make confident decisions. Completing a full run of George VI shillings, including different years and mint states, can be a satisfying long-term project. The 1950 UK One Shilling coin stands as a proud reminder of Britain's resilience and heritage. Though modest in face value, it carries decades of history within its metal. Even in dirty condition, it holds charm, character, and a steady place in the collector market. Whether valued at a few dollars or significantly more in higher grades, its true worth lies in its story and its connection to a defining period in British history. If you have one, take a closer look. You might just discover that this small coin represents far more than you ever imagined. At last, the 1961 UK One Shilling coin featuring the famous three lions design. This beautiful coin was issued during the reign of Elizabeth II and represents a period of stability and tradition in post-war Britain. Even in faded condition, the 1961 shilling carries strong collector interest and cultural pride, and many people are now rediscovering its hidden value. If you have one tucked away in an old tin, coin album, or inherited collection, you may be holding far more than just an old piece of change. The 1961 One Shilling belongs to the pre-decimal currency system of the United Kingdom, when 20 shillings made £1. This coin was struck at the Royal Mint and was widely circulated across Britain. The obverse of the coin features the young laureate portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, a design that symbolized a new Elizabethan era. The reverse displays the striking three lions passant guard ant, taken from the royal arms of England. This iconic heraldic image reflects centuries of monarchy, strength, and national identity. For many collectors, this design alone makes the coin deeply desirable. From a technical perspective, the 1961 shilling was struck in copper-nickel, as silver had been removed from circulating coinage after 1946. The coin weighs approximately 5.65 grams and measures 23.5 millimeters in diameter. It has a reeded edge and a solid, balanced feel in the hand. Even in faded condition, where the high points of the lion's or the queen's portrait may show wear, the details remain recognizable and historically appealing. In terms of historical context, 1961 Britain was experiencing economic development, cultural transformation, and the early signs of what would later become the swinging 60s. This coin circulated in everyday markets, buses, and shops across the country. It may have passed through countless hands before decimalization in 1971 ended the era of shillings as legal tender. That historical journey adds emotional and cultural value that goes beyond metal content. When we talk about rarity, the 1961 shilling is not considered extremely rare in terms of mintage, as millions were produced. However, condition plays a major role in today's collector market. A faded example that has seen years of circulation is valued differently from a brilliant uncirculated specimen. Yet even circulated coins are gaining popularity as more people begin collecting pre-decimal British coins. Nostalgia is driving demand, and collectors appreciate authentic, well-traveled pieces that tell a story. Now let's discuss market value in dollars, which many viewers are curious about. In honest collector markets, a 1961 1 shilling in faded circulated condition typically sells for around $1 to $5 depending on eye appeal and demand. However, in high-demand online listings or exaggerated sales claims, you may see advertised values of thousands of dollars, sometimes even $2,000 or $3,000. These inflated figures often appear in viral videos or speculative listings, but realistic confirmed sales for standard faded coins remain modest. That said, exceptional error coins, proof versions, or pristine uncirculated examples can command significantly higher prices, sometimes reaching $50 to $150 or more depending on grade and rarity. The key to understanding value lies in grading and authenticity. Collectors carefully inspect the sharpness of the three lions, the clarity of the lettering, and the condition of the Queen's portrait. Fading that reduces major details lowers the grade, but natural aging with attractive toning can still make a coin appealing. Demand for pre-decimal British coinage has grown internationally, particularly among collectors in the United States and Asia who admire historic European currency. If you are considering collecting or selling a 1961 shilling, it is wise to store the coin properly in a protective holder to prevent further wear. Avoid cleaning it, as polishing or scrubbing can reduce value dramatically. Even faded coins are best left in their original state, as collectors prefer natural surfaces. Comparing recent auction results rather than relying on sensational claims will give you a clearer picture of real market prices. The positive news is that interest in vintage British coinage continues to rise. Coins like the 1961 1 shilling represent an accessible entry point for new collectors while still holding historic charm. As more people rediscover pre-decimal currency, demand steadily strengthens. While not every coin will make you thousands overnight, the long-term appreciation and cultural importance make this piece a rewarding addition to any collection. In conclusion, the 1961 UK 1 shilling with the three lions design is far more than a simple old coin. It reflects the early reign of Queen Elizabeth II, the craftsmanship of the Royal Mint, and a rich chapter of British monetary history. Even in faded condition, it holds sentimental, historical, and collector value. Whether worth a few dollars today or potentially more in special circumstances, it remains a proud symbol of Britain's heritage and a coin that continues to attract admiration from enthusiasts around the world. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to stay tuned to World Numismatic Finds for more rare and valuable coin discoveries from around the world.